Howdy y'all, welcome back to my channel. This is AR Cavly, and this is going to be my short video on what I think of the solo system and the campaign I just played through for using Forbidden Lands Book of Beasts. First and foremost, I had a blast. I had a good time running that campaign. I had a lot of fun. Um, it's always interesting to compare different types of solo campaigns because there are different philosophies behind them. Solo campaigns a lot of times have to be a little bit more narrative because a normal RPG campaign, you will have more people playing, things like that, and a little more, what would be the word? It's a little easier to fit like a character death in there. When you're by yourself, when you're playing a single character, just a camera there, you're playing a single character, especially in a game that can be brutal like Forbidden Lands, then you have to change the dynamics a little bit, I feel anyway. Um, if you have something like Ironforged, or Ironsworn or Starforged, some of the campaigns I've run with like Tricube Tales, those systems are set. They're designed around the idea that death doesn't necessarily mean death, right? When you take a certain amount of damage, it doesn't mean that you're helpless. It means you've lost. Maybe you have to run away. And in a solo campaign, in a narrative campaign, that gives you a little more option to a few more options to go with. In a game like Forbidden Lands, while you may not necessarily die, if you're broken in a battle and you're by yourself, you can still come up with a narrative reason why you didn't survive, why the Manticore didn't finish you off and eat you, or whatever. But it doesn't quite fit as well in. Um, so let's just kind of go through uh, maybe a little bit by bit here. I like the some of the changes. It's about the same, but I like some of the changes with the solo adventure. How you make your character. Okay, I like that. They did that pretty well. However, I don't like the idea of companions being kind of background. That's also one of the things where games like uh, Starforged, your companions are narrative. They don't really, yeah, they don't do much. They are just supposed to be in the background while you make your rolls, while you perform your actions, and you work them in. The same thing with the companions here. That's how they're designed, how it's suggested to be played. But I really, I would rather run two or three characters that are more fully developed than to have some companions that just give me a dice roll. For me, it just doesn't feel right to have the main character make all the rolls and then just add a little something. For one, it makes it a little hard if you have someone who's a specialist. Say, you know, like with Zell in the previous campaign, you know, he was an outdoorsman, he was a hunter, whereas the main character was a peddler. And as written, the peddler, should have been making kind of all the survival rolls, even though the other character was a survivalist. Uh, and so I kind of, I feel that I would prefer to have a character. And I've played solo games, especially recently, where it is built around a group mechanic. And I think that I really miss that. If I were to do another campaign, I would use multiple fully fledged characters to do that. And for myself, I don't necessarily mind crunch or taking time to roll multiple, to have longer combats. I don't mind that. I kind of like rolling the dice and seeing what happens and working through that. So I understand why they choose to do it, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I prefer the other way, and it just and sometimes it really did feel kind of off to me. Um, I like the motivations and the like I said the creation aspects that they added in there. Let me change my view here. So I'm not skipping pages. All right, and I do like I like the hex procedure. It because one, it's very simple. It's straightforward. You do this, you do this, you do this, and it doesn't change the main rules much. Because Forbidden Lands, in and of itself, it's a hex crawl system, so it's really already very solo friendly because it's procedural. You just have people going and doing things, and you roll on tables to see what happens, and you have a bunch of random encounters, and the Book of Beasts adds a bunch of new encounters uh, that you can roll with, and so I like that, and I like how it splits up the encounter type, so it's not just one thing after another. It has its own, aside from just the regular location based encounter rolls, it has its own um, general encounters. And I also like the fact that not everything is not everything's not a battle. Everything some things are just background detail. And speaking of background detail, one of the things that I really liked, and I'll just touch on it because it wasn't really part of the solo, although I did use some of it. I like these um, some of these game master tools that are incorporated, uh, like the journeys, the camps, things that are just details that you throw in there. I really like that. And if I were a little more familiar, or maybe taking a little less or a little more time to do them, and not, since I was learning a bunch of stuff how to use the system, um, I probably would have added some more of these background details just for the scenes. And I like the fact that solo rules are also very useful playing with other groups, or playing with a group of people, playing with other players. They're very useful because they just provide details and whatnot uh, to there. Uh, the advanced combat system. I'm kind of I'm so on overall on the advanced combat system, because it basically I do like it. It can work, and I've had fun playing uh, with someone else doing it. But it's basically kind of a rock paper scissors kind of thing. I think using it solo, as described, I don't. It says here rules can work very well, but um, and there are some advanced ideas on how to do that. But like I said back when I was, because I did use it some on the roll 20, but if you're fighting somebody and you're just randomly flipping cards over, your a chance of attack of getting an attack or a defend out of the opponent is actually pretty small, when in reality those should be the main things it's doing. So I don't know that it really works very well on the solo front. I mean, it worked well on mine because I adjusted how many cards were in there, so I weighted the deck, and so the times I used it, that did actually make it a little interesting. But as is, if you just have like one deck, to use as a player versus um, your game AI or whatever, I don't think it would work all that all that well. Here's something that I didn't keep track of the resources maybe as strictly as I should have. A lot of it was because they were hunting and gathering resources during the day, and so sometimes didn't really need to. But um, I didn't do a lot of looting. Of course, I didn't do a lot of fighting because my Lennox, you preferred to run away. Um, I do like the social interactions. It's just and I'm sitting here. I'm realizing that I didn't even use this one. This I think would have probably helped a little because it is to streamline it. So that's something that now I realize that I kind of missed um, because here it was you just kind of versus their wits or empathy, and then depending on that, how many successes you get, that would have been like I said, I don't mind rolling the dice, but that's actually a good table that I should have used. So that one um, was on me. And here's some good role playing information. Just some solo ideas, things that work well for that. Initially, I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of cards in role playing games. That's just one of my own little OCD things. Um, I think Savage Worlds, I kind of got used to it in those, and I have kind of gotten used to it in Forbidden Lands because they can be a fun mechanic. But I just prefer using dice, um, especially for like a yes no oracle. I would just rather roll a 1d6 instead of having to shuffle and fool around with the dice. I did, however, as the game went on, uh, started to appreciate some of them. Like I really like this helpful and hazard oracle um, because sometimes you get an encounter, and I don't really think that everything you meet is necessarily going to try to kill you. And as if you watched along, you saw I played that this way, using this helpful hazardous oracle. You come across somebody and then you use this oracle and use it to tell you if they're actually dangerous or not. Because you maybe the manticore you come across doesn't really care what you do. Maybe it's full. Like I said. So that is a very good oracle. I like that oracle, and I like theme oracles too. Sometimes you can get things that don't really make sense. My suggestion is if you really, I sometimes like to stretch it out and take it and try to bend it and see what I can come with it. But if something just doesn't really make sense, either go with your gut, make something up, or just draw again. I like some more of these wilderness oracles, or more details, just to describe the area. And in fact, I used some of those in a couple of hexes to I used them. I played them into the narrative, and I like this uh, random race and name generators. So that's pretty cool because in that case, the one thing that cards do give you is uh, you have a wider range of variety because you can split it up with the four suits and everything. So those were pretty good, and the same with the traits oracle. So the oracles, I did like. I probably would still prefer though a like a D66 oracle. I don't think any one of these card draw oracles could be would be hard to replace. The one thing that the cards do allow when you're using them is they take that result out of the deck for that session, right? So you're not going to get the if you're rolling D66, you could theoretically roll a 3-2 result 10 times in a row, and you're not going to get that using the cards because you can only draw that card once and then it's out of the pool. So I understand the use of the cards, and I'm a little softer on using them now, but in my own games, I will probably prefer just using the D66. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I think that there's as far as a solo engine itself, I think it mostly works because Forbidden Lands, like I said, is very solo friendly to begin with. Right? You could take almost any GM emulator or solo deck cards. I like the Game Master's Apprentice. I like those a lot. And run a regular uh, solo game using just the basic rules. Because the solo rules in this are they're pretty stripped down, and so they didn't overdo it, which I think is good because you can get too many tables sometimes. So I think they struck a good balance for Forbidden Lands, and it's a good solo system. I enjoyed it. I tried to work in some of the monsters from the Book of Beasts, uh, which were pretty interesting. And then if we ever get the get around, I'm still waiting for my physical copy. Uh, we'll see what the Blood March has to offer us. I'm sure it'll be pretty good. I haven't read the PDF for stuff where I'm just reading through. I really do prefer just reading the book. Um, so I'll give the Forbidden Lands solo 2 thumbs up. I had a good time with it. It's definitely something, and it's just because I do a lot of solo. I have a lot of different tools. I would probably incorporate a couple of my other tools, maybe expand some of the tables, not necessarily the encounters, but some of the details, character details, things like that. But I really like it. I think it worked well, and I appreciate everybody who followed along, and I hope it was helpful to somebody. And yeah, that's good. I liked it. So happy gaming.